Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Walking Dead. So in this episode, at the beginning, we had a little montage basically showing, what Hilltop has been doing, all the training they've been doing, trying to get ready, all the planning they put forward. And basically, it kind of ends with when Rosita came to Sasha about this whole plan about killing Negan, so... Obviously, Jesus and Enid came across Sasha and was like, Sasha basically lays it out like, hey, I have to do this. Jesus wants her not to do this. Like, don't want her or Rosita to do it. But it's like, Sasha's thinking it's like, Rosita's going to do it whether I'm with her or not. But at the very least, I should go with her so she doesn't have to do this alone. That way, we can at least make sure there's the higher chance of success. Because they both know they're doing this, as they've mentioned before, there won't be any going back. And if they get captured, they have to make sure they don't get captured so they don't end up spilling anything. So they know that this is like a one-way trip, especially for Sasha, because she knows, because for her, she's like, Maggie's the one that's got to stay alive. Like, she hasn't told Maggie, because Enid was like, I'm going to tell Maggie in 10 minutes, so I'll give you a head start. You're going to have that 10 minutes to do whatever you want to, because she's like, because Jesus was saying, at the very least, she owed Maggie that explanation, because if she didn't do it, because Maggie would have told her not to do it. Maggie would have tried to talk her out of it. But once again, no matter what they would have done, they wouldn't have been able to talk Rosita out of it. So that was kind of the main thing. But the Savior showed up before before Jesus or even Enid could say anything, because Daryl, for example, doesn't find out until near the very end of the episode. So that was kind of an interesting thing that I immediately picked up too, is during that little montage at the beginning, you see Maggie coming over towards Daryl, but he doesn't even look at her. She's bringing him food or whatever. But later on, there is when that Savior is in there and he's ready to kill him, but you also see that look on Maggie's face, she wanted to kill him, but she stopped Daryl and she's like, "Look me in the face, turn around and look at me, Daryl." And he can't do it because he's so ashamed. He even breaks down and apologizes. He's like, "I'm sorry about Glenn." It's it's not your fault. He's like, "It is my fault because I did that." Because he did it because it's if someone's going to suffer the punishment, he thought it would be him. Kind of the same thing as Richard. Richard attacked last episode because he did that whole thing because he figured it was going to be him that would suffer. He didn't know it was going to be Benjamin who suffered from. So it's kind of a situation you never know. With the Saviors, they're not very predictable, so you never really know where their actions lie. But the fact is, Maggie's you can't do that because, I wanted to kill him just as much as you did, but the fact of the matter is we have to win. Because she's the fact of the matter is, when Daryl did that, he had good in his heart because it was one of his friends had died, one of his allies had died, and that's why he reacted that way. And it's I don't blame you, and, I see the good in you, Daryl. And why? Because it's Glenn saw the good in you, and it's he was a good person amongst them all, so it's I definitely trust his judgment in that sense, and she sees it too. And it's sad because when it comes down to it, the person responsible for it is Negan. It's not their fault. Things played out the way they did because it's it's all for the act of surviving, because really depends on where you want to go with it, because you could take it all the way back and be it's Rick's fault because he's the one that got them in this situation in the first place, making that deal with Hilltop. But at the same time, it's not Hilltop knew everything there was to know about Negan. They thought it was just that one outpost was all there was to the Saviors. They didn't know there was a lot more to it and stuff like that. So. Which also, you have to give Gregory credit. Even though you could argue he's a coward, he's kind of a jackass, but man, oh man, is he a smooth talker. He kept trying to talk to Simon and just be trying to be all friendly and stuff like that. He's very, granted, just because, I guess it's because he's not a big fighter, he had to be very good at his words. That's how he started leading Hilltop in the first place, because he was the more negotiable type of person. But, we ended up seeing that Simon, I was oh, so why is Simon here? He's over here for one particular person. It's is he still looking for Daryl? But then now I'm sitting here thinking about, of course he wouldn't go there because he doesn't know the connection between Alexandria and Hilltop. He wouldn't, obviously if Daryl was going to go anywhere, he'd go to somewhere he knew. And they probably figure he wouldn't go to Hilltop because Hilltop would immediately tell us if someone like him came in, So it's why they wouldn't immediately think he'd come to this particular settlement because they don't know the connection or whatever. So I was so what are you here for? Because obviously him and Maggie have to hide because they can't let Maggie be known. Granted, Negan's not there, but they don't want to take the chance that he might decide to pop up one day. Or at the very least, someone's oh yeah, there was this pretty, because of the fact of the matter is, I did forget that there are a lot of people who were there that day, so they know who Maggie might be, so they'd be able to line her up, because, Negan thinks she's dead and everything because of Gabriel. But the fact of the matter is, the doctor got taken. I didn't realize that the doctor at the Savior compound was his brother. He's like, so my brother went off and pissed someone off, and then you had Simon being like, yeah, something like that. Which I love Stephen Ogg, dude. He's so good. Especially because I've been seeing him in those Old Spice commercials lately. He's just amazing. I just love him as just kind of like how he tries to be like all like it just his mannerisms and the way he talks. That's just all I can put to it. It's just his interactions between him and Gregory are just amazing. Especially like him being like, okay, Gregory, you want to talk to me about, there might be some uprisings or something like that. If you want to talk to me, you can always come to me personally, as long as there's no shenanigans. So. But this kind of puts him in a very compromising position, because now it's like they're left without a doctor, not only for those who are wounded, but also for Maggie, to get proper checkups with the baby and everything. So that sucks. Hopefully this doc has a better run than his brother did, because his things did not end well for his brother. So super didn't end well. For a second I was like, yeah, because he got burned in the face. I was like, all right, I forgot. He didn't get burned in the face. Negan didn't do that. Negan threw him into the furnace. I forgot about that for a second. I was like, yeah, he definitely got it rough. But a big focus of the episode is obviously the whole Rosita and Sasha situation, because obviously Sasha's wanting to open up a little bit more, because this is kind of the end of the line possibly. She's asking Rosita a lot about herself, but Rosita's kind of like, screw that, let's focus on the mission. Even more so when she sees the necklace that she's wearing, that Sasha's wearing, that that obviously she got from Abraham. And it's just, for Rosita's in a mindset of like, she wants to push forward. She doesn't want to get caught up in all this emotional stuff. She doesn't want to think. She just wants to go. Because even Sasha's like, maybe we can attack from afar. And then Rosita's kind of like, nah, we're going in. Like, the fact is, if we're far away, there's a good chance we might miss and we won't get another shot. So we have to be going in. But Sasha's like, no, we could actually walk away from this alive. But the reason why is because, Rosita, in a sense, almost wants a death wish. It's because, like, she wants to push forward. Like, she's okay with dying as long as she gets to take Negan down with her. That's always been the plan, and that's how she's always felt. But slowly but surely throughout the episode, like nearing the end of the episode, her and Sasha kind of open up. Sasha's asking her, it's like, how does she know what she knows? She actually goes a little bit more into detail about some of the people she's met. A very interesting thing is that basically everyone that met her always thought like, oh, she was like some fragile girl that needed to be protected. Which she kind of went ahead and just played that role and let people think that, without them realizing the entire time it's like she's been seeing all these different things that they're good at. Fact is, disarming bombs or hot wiring a car, or like two examples of like, stuff she picked up from those other the guys she's met along the way, and then like did better than them. It's like they didn't even realize I was up there absorbing everything that they were doing, and kind of did even better than them. But things with Abraham was different. Because Abraham saw her for who she was, like a tough girl that was capable of, handling her own, shit. Like, he didn't look down on her. He, looked at her on equal footing, and not as someone that needed to be protected, but someone that would have his back. And for her, more so than anything, the whole situation with Abraham, it hurt because, like, Abraham quickly got situated with the whole moving to Alexandria situation. Like, for her, it didn't really quite fit for her. She liked to pretend like it did. But the thing is, Abraham, it was good. Like, he was able to kind of normalize immediately, kind of get adjusted to just like a normal life in a sense. And that's kind of what pissed Rosita off, especially when he left, because it's just like, on some level, she's like, maybe I held resentment for him, because the fact is that he was able to kind of be able to just basically get his shit together and be okay. Me, I'm still here trying to figure my shit out, and that's why she held a lot of animosity towards him, especially after they kind of split ways. But more so than anything, it's like she's pissed at herself because she wasted so much time being mad about that. She wasn't there. She didn't actually get to tell Abraham how happy she was that he was happy. Because at the end of the day, that is what mattered to her, to his own happiness. But it was kind of a thing where she was stuck in her own way, stuck in her own head. And she even asked Sasha, she's like, were you happy? She's like, I was happy. So, like I said, it's sad that it took till this moment where it's like they're leading up to the end, that they know that this might be the last shot, that they might not make it out of this, to kind of finally break down these walls and stuff and open up, especially in Rosita's case. And it's just like, she's been holding on to that for so long. And it's like, if she had just let it go sooner, maybe things would play out a little bit differently. And it's just sad. I just have that sinking feeling in my stomach, because it cannot cannot and will not end well. I like that she does, like at the end, like when they're busting into the compound, she's like, okay, gotta get you out of here, Eugene. But Eugene is like, no, I didn't ask you to save me. I'm trying to decide what that is. I think it's kind of like, because Eugene is back to kind of playing the sides, because it's like that's how he did when he met up with Abraham initially, lying and saying like, oh, he knows, get me to Washington, I can figure this out, cure this whole situation. Lying is just kind of part of his knack of survival. So what I'm wondering is it a situation where it's like he couldn't bring himself to go back because it's like, no, he'd already broken. I think maybe it's a sense of pride. Like the fact is, like, I broke down and I started working with Negan and I can't go back because I don't have the right to. Or is it because it's a situation where it's like he felt like if he did go back, I mean, here at least with Negan, he feels like he has some purpose. Back at Alexandria, it's like he was really nobody. He didn't do anything special. I mean, he had built up courage and stuff like that and kind of showed that he could do things, but it just wasn't he didn't get the respect and the feel like fulfillment of being worthwhile like he does here with the Savior. So maybe that played a role in it, but he doesn't accept their help. And so what we do have is like Sasha breaking in, but closing the fence behind her so that Rosita can't follow. And Rosita's like, what the hell are you doing? And Sasha's like, it's not your time. Because they had that whole conversation about, Abraham. It like wasn't his time. And what made them pissed off, what pissed her off the most about the whole situation with Abraham's the type of dude that would go out swinging, like give a point to his life. That the fact is that even if he's about to die, at least he can fight. With Negan, he never had a chance to fight back, that was taken from her, and that's why she hates Negan as much as she does. It's because of that. Because that's kind of what they're all kind of aiming for, to be. That's what they all want. That's kind of the point of things, is to like go out swinging, like fighting for something at least. That's kind of at least it'll make your life at the very end be worthwhile in a sense. Give it some meaning or something. So she kind of telling Rosita, it's not your time, So she's going straight forward into the compound, by herself. I mean, it'd be bad enough. It's bad enough already with just Rosita, but now it's like, now she's just doing it by herself. So you have Rosita running away, but at last, like, you see someone in a shadow, and I see like a crossbow in the back. I assume that's Dwight. I could be wrong, but like I said, that's a situation where it's definitely not going to end well. I don't know. This episode just like, it literally made me sad because I know that they're both walking towards their death. It's like, it can only end one way for them. I mean, more so than anything, it's like taking out Negan. At least they can do that because it's like he hurt the person that they both care about as well as other people too. And more so than that, it's like with him out of the way at the very least, I guess it makes it seem like maybe the rest of everyone else can come together to kind of take him down a peg or two. I mean, granted, I still don't know where Gregory's going to fit in all this, because it's like at one moment you kind of feel like, oh, okay with Gregory, but then he turned around and says some douchey stuff, like he's talking to Jesus and stuff like that. Jesus talking about the fact that you didn't fight that hard to keep the dot, which, Gregory actually did try his best. I mean, granted, he could have tried a little harder, but then, Gregory's not trying to push anything. I mean, the fact is he is hiding all of you guys. Granted, it is reluctantly. If he could, granted, he did actually try and sell Sasha and Maggie out, like, during the first half of the season, so it's not like he's 100%, like I said, he's in a situation where he's like, oh, I look out for my friends and stuff like that, because he's like, oh, for Jesus doesn't seem like a friend anymore. It's like, no, you don't look out for your friends, you look out for yourself, you self-centered bastard. Don't pretend like it's anything else. And I guess that guy he's bringing in to bring him the drinks in the episode, I guess that guy's supposed to be like the new him. It's supposed to be the new Jesus in that sense, so. Also got a little bit of a thing from Jesus too that I kind of like. The fact is Jesus brought up the fact is that prior to Sasha and Maggie getting there, he never really communicated with like Hilltop. The fact is for him he'd always kind of been by himself. Like he's always been around a lot of people because he grew up. I think he brought up the fact is he grew up in like a foster home, I think, or a group home. And the fact is that he never really got along with other people. So for him, he always it's just like, I do my thing. I never really got close to neighbors, friends, boyfriends, and stuff like that. So for him, it's just kind of like, he was kind of like a kept to himself thing. But then things kind of changed once Maggie and Sasha came here. So that's why he did not want her to go, because it's like, Maggie's going to need you, because Maggie's already lost a lot. Like, why add more to it? I mean, granted, with it was brought up by Rick during the whole conversation he had with Michonne. Like, a lot of people they love or care about are going to die in this, because there ain't going to be like, it's not like going to be a situation where everyone makes it out of it. It's like there are going to be a lot of people that die. Not just being the saviors. There's going to be people on the Hilltop, Kingdom, or even the Alexandria side of things. People will die. So. and that basically it's going to be up to Maggie's, baby, and even in Enid. Enid is there to protect Maggie and her baby because her baby's the future, as well as Enid too. It's like they're like, once again, kind of going back to what Rick said too. It's like it's for their future too, because they're the ones that it's like they're not fighting for themselves; they're fighting for their future. Like Judith, Carl, and them. And then Enid and Maggie's baby, so that they have a future that they can do something with to kind of carve out of their own. So I wonder, is it going to be a situation where it's like, when it's all said and done, will you have someone like Tara feeling responsible? Because maybe in her mind she'll be like, oh, if I had said anything about the gun sooner, then maybe we could have avoided this whole situation. So it's like, I don't know. I'm very interested. Like, I say very interested, but I'm kind of not, because it's like that's the tough thing about the show is like when there's characters that you like, which I naturally like Sasha and Rosita. I mean, Rosita for different reasons. I mean, just because I like Rosita's character and I understand the hurt behind her, but also because she was Susie Crabgrass from Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide, so I see her that way too. And it's like, no, I don't want Susie Crabgrass to die. But also because Sasha's been here for a while, and it's like she's been here since like season 3, right? Because she was like one of the original people you got from the governor's place, which is like, it's just because she's lost so much. She lost her brother, she lost Bob, she lost Abraham, like she lost Glenn as a friend. It's just like so much, and it's just like, I don't know, maybe you could also look at, like, to me, it was almost like maybe Sasha had a death wish too, but the fact is that she came up with the whole idea of like, no, let's do it from far away, because at the very least being optimistic, like, we can make it out if you're alive, or at the very least this would give us an opportunity to take another shot in case we miss or something happens. So I am not looking forward to the next episode, just because it's like, I hate that anxiety, because I was halfway expecting things to go down that way in this episode, but now I'm gonna have to deal with it next episode, and it's gonna rip my heart apart. It's just like, I can't handle that. That's why I'm thinking, like, dude, like, this show is rough to watch. I don't know, like, I think it's because it's live people. I wonder if I read the comic books, will I feel the same? Because reading manga, I kind of feel the same way when characters die in manga. So it's like, I definitely know I'd feel the same way if I read the comic book too. So it's not even just like it being a television thing. It's just like once you get attached to certain characters for such a long time, and that's what this show does. It's like there are very few occasions where it's like there's a character that's only been around a little while. It's like these characters, you get to know them a little bit, spend some time with them. It's like they become part of the group, they become part of the family, and it's like, I just can't. I don't think I'll be able to handle it, but I know it's going to come next episode. It just has to, So I do have to retract that and say, like, I'm looking forward to the episode in the sense of just seeing how this all goes, because this was the third to the last episode in the season, so 2 more to see, till we see like how this all plays out. So, but really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.